Aiden Self and his baseball team in Little League is coming off a championship game, so we've got an exclusive interview with he and his coach Evan Roller, plus Joey Bennett's joining us on the desk to talk about the first half of Major League Baseball. We're also going to be looking at the upcoming Alabama Crimson Tide football schedule, plenty of NASCAR talk, plus our big impact, love it or hate it, and much more. The RO Sports Show is coming up to bat right now. Welcome to the latest edition of the RO Sports Show, as always brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to start tonight. We've got a couple special guests with us here this evening. To my right, Aiden Self. To his right, his Little League coach, Evan Rollers. We appreciate you guys joining us here. Aiden, let's start with you, buddy. How old are you?
8 years old.
All right, we're going to have a press conference here. So, let me ask you the next question. How long have you been playing baseball for?
For a few years.
All right. Evan, let me ask you a question. How many years have you been coaching baseball at this level?
5.
All right. So, obviously, you guys won a championship. Is that right?
Correct.
So, I'm going to ask you here the same question, Aiden, but let me start with you, Evan. What is it like to be able to win a championship with this team?
With this group right here, it was special. One, because we were probably one of the least talented from the beginning, if we're honest. But all 12 of our kids, they did everything we asked of them. They got behind each other. They fought like brothers, all 12 of them.
Yeah.
And when they were down, they got some good old school coaching, and the next day things were better. So. They shocked us a lot, so they surprised us a lot.
Well, behind every winning manager are some winning players. So, Aiden, let me ask you the same question. What did it feel like to win a championship, man?
Well, good. That I hit the ball and made all the bases, and it felt good.
Absolutely. It's been a long time since I played baseball at your level, but I never won a championship, so you've got a leg up at least on the RO Sports Show host. Now, with that being said, I understand that you scored the winning run in the championship game, right?
Right.
So how'd that feel?
Really good.
Yeah, I bet so. Now, let's talk about something else. I see you've got your Pelicans gear on here, so obviously you're a big Myrtle Beach fan, right? Do you have, maybe not at Myrtle Beach, but how about in the Major League level? Do you have a favorite baseball player?
Like Freddie Freeman.
Wow, that's an excellent choice. Excellent choice. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got a few Braves items here. Although I have to tell you, this one here is my favorite. You know who that is?
Yep, Chipper Jones.
Absolutely. So, my man, you're going to do well. Sorry, Russell, you've lost your job, buddy. But you can make fun of him. It's okay. He's an Alabama fan. Now, you going to continue to play baseball? Is that you going to move up to the next level, or will you play at this same level next year?
Same level next year.
All right. Now, do you play in the field?
Outfield.
Outfield. All right. And you thrown anybody out this year?
Close.
Yeah.
Close.
It was really close.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we've got a video that Russell's going to put up while we're doing the interview. We'll maybe take a break and do one of those. But we've got the video of you scoring that winning run. So, Evan, let me ask you this. When he scored, what was the atmosphere like there at the field?
It was kind of crazy because all the parents from all the other teams, all the other coaches had already rallied around him and kind of knew Aiden. So it was just all the phones were up, all the cameras were ready. It didn't matter who you were there to watch. When he was standing on third and there was no outs, everybody was ready, and he scored. And like I said, head coach J.R. Robson, we both we left our glasses on, and we wasn't wiping. We was wiping tears and sweat, so it was a mixture. Let's put it that way.
Your eyes were sweating.
Yeah, it was kind of dark. The glasses should have been gone, but we kind of looked at each other on the field when he was standing at third. It was like, man, this is probably about to happen. So it just kind of like one of those 360 deals you see in the Sports Center.
Yeah,
all the stuff you see that you like, man, I'll never be a part of it like that, but.
And it was obviously a great moment. And again, we're glad that you guys contacted us and were able to come in and do the interview. And as you can see, I've got one, kind of a baseball shirt on, summer nights and ballpark lights, and that's kind of this time of the year. So again, we really appreciate you guys joining us, Evan. We appreciate you hopping on the desk. Aiden, I got a question for you. Now, I understand that you like to talk baseball. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You want to stick around and do that in the next segment?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. Even if you said no, we were bringing you back, buddy. But like I said, once again, Evan Roller, Aiden Self, really appreciate you guys joining us. Dunn Builders, the Coach Pitch champions. So congratulations, guys. And when we come back, like I said, Aiden's going to stay on the desk. Joey Bennett's going to be joining us. We're going to be taking a look at the first half of Major League Baseball, maybe take a stab at who we think should be the Cy Young and MVP winners from each league, as well as who we think who's going to win the upcoming All-Star game on Tuesday. So all that and more, we come back to the RO Sports Show.
At Richmond Community College, we prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
Exit Realty Platinum in Rockingham has listed one of the most beautiful homes in Richmond County. Located in Rockingham on Ledbetter Lake, the home features 4 bedrooms with bamboo floors and a kitchen featuring stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and a master bedroom that overlooks Ledbetter Lake, along with a spacious tile shower and the attached master bathroom. The open living space leads to the back deck with a perfect view of Ledbetter Lake, and the property features its own boat dock. Want to see this beautiful home? Call Nicole Hayden with Exit Realty Platinum, your source for homes in Richmond and Moore counties.
My name is Jim Leach, and we have been using the Tim Hayden Construction Company for the last several years.
My name is Dave Owens and my wife Beth. We had some damage here at our place in Knollwood Village.
January 2nd, our house flooded upstairs coming through to the first floor.
Tim has responded very quickly with his team of people.
Our repairs went extremely well.
Tim made a very difficult situation much easier for us.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Aiden sticking on the desk with us, and welcome Joey Bennett here to the RO Sports Show. Thanks for stopping by, Joey.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Now, let's hop into some Major League Baseball. Of course, I know the All-Star break isn't till the beginning of next week. However, we've already officially passed the halfway point so far in the Major League season. So, the first question I wanted to ask you is, any surprises as far as teams that stick out to you halfway through the season?
I'll have to admit I'm a little shocked with the Braves, as everybody is. I'm a diehard Braves fan, and nobody expected us to do this good this year. I had actually expected the last couple of years would be a little bit better, and really didn't have too many hopes for this year. But they've surprised very nicely. Seattle's been a nice surprise in the wild card spot in the American League right now. So there's been a couple of surprises.
Absolutely. Aiden, since you're a Braves fan, is it surprised you that the Braves are doing so well this year?
And the record.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're I think as of right now they're 10 or 11 games over. Now, obviously, we've got 3 Braves fans here, so let's not sugarcoat it. Exactly. It's been a rough few years. We basically took it down to the studs. We traded away Craig Kimbrell and Andrelton Simmons and the Uptons and pretty much anybody that wasn't nailed to the floor except Freddie Freeman. But all that was done so that we could get to this point where we are now, where we get all these young guys, these young pitchers that we're seeing hopefully come to fruition, guys like Acuna. So hopefully, I was just expecting us to be around 500, but if hopefully we can get into the playoffs this year, I think we're already ahead of schedule. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. It'll be interesting in the next couple of weeks to see if they go out and get anybody. Yeah. I can't imagine them not getting somebody. I don't know who they're going to have to give up. But
I would imagine they're probably going to go after relief pitching. At least that's what I hope.
I hope so, too. I hope so as well.
What do you think, Aiden? You know who Manny Machado is, right?
Yes, sir.
You think the Braves should go after Machado?
Yes, sir. I really think. I really think they should.
All right, what do you think, Joey? Because it's going to cost a lot of prospects to get him.
I'm not completely sold on Machado yet. I don't think the Braves can win the bidding war that's probably going on now for him.
I would imagine that with the players we have, we could probably get him, but you
Yeah.
don't have a guarantee that you're going to keep him.
Exactly.
And it's going to cost probably upwards of $400 million, which is just
Exactly.
a lot of money and something that I don't think we should mortgage the farm for.
I keep thinking about the Teixeira trade a couple of years ago. It was really
Exactly.
great to have him for a couple of months. He was a real impact player. Great guy. Would have loved to kept him, but nobody really expected him to be Brave after the end of the season.
That one
so.
burned us. Of course, we did seem to make it back a little bit in that trade that got us Dansby Swanson
Exactly.
and Inciarte. As far as surprise teams, you mentioned the Mariners. That one surprises me simply because they lost Robinson Cano to that PED suspension. I think as I looked, they're 57-34, which that's a great record, especially in the West where you've already got to contend with the Astros and the Angels, and of course the A's. Of course, Scott Emerson, a good friend of ours here, they're doing really well this year. That surprised me a little bit. As far as on the National League side, the Nationals still sitting around 500. That surprised me.
I think it's a case of they go whichever way Bryce Harper goes, and Bryce
Exactly.
Harper has struggled mightily. I hate to see that for him as a huge baseball fan, and as some of the folks that I talk baseball about with on occasion, it's hard not to cheer for Bryce Harper, and it's frankly bad to see him going so pitifully right now, and you have to think it may be because of the free agency stuff.
It could be a lot of pressure on him. He's got 21 homers and 50 RBIs somewhere in there, but he's batting .218.
Exactly.
Are you a Harper fan? You like Bryce Harper?
Kind of.
Yeah, I'm a little mixed. See, being a National, I just can't pull myself to like him. Being a Braves fan, and a matter of fact, I wrote an article about should the Braves perhaps go after him in free agency. Again, I think that might be a check that's a little too rich for our blood. So,
Absolutely.
now we're going to take a look at some of the best teams in the MLB. And with that, I want to talk about the AL's dominance so far because they kind of go hand in hand. So, in your opinion, so far halfway through the season, who's the best team?
I really in the whole league or
in the whole league.
In the whole league, I'd probably have to say you got Boston, the Yankees really close. Milwaukee's a good team. A lot of good teams out there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I know I said best team, but I'm going to have a tie between Boston and Houston.
Yeah.
Both have phenomenal pitching staffs. They both have 1 through basically 9 with the DH in there. Great lineups. Who do you think's the best team, Maiden? You think Boston maybe or New York? Who would you pick as the best team right now
Like the whole league.
in the whole league?
The Cubs.
The Cubs. Hey, that's not a bad
There
pick.
you
The
go.
Cubs,
you go.
they kind of did what the Braves are trying to do right now. They broke it down and started over, and now you see they've won a World Series and seem to contend every year. Now let's talk about that. The fact, I put out a power ranking every week, and it seems like since I've started this, I do 5, and it's 4 AL teams and then 1 NL team that seems to rotate. You think there's a reason why the AL is just dominating this year?
I can't figure out what it is. It's amazing. Even looking at the records last night, seeing 1 or 2 teams at the top of the league, everybody else or top of the division, and everybody else way below them, like off the charts below them. I don't know what it is. It's unbelievable.
I've got a theory. The Baltimore Orioles are slated to win about 45 games this year. There's 18 teams that have already won that many. So most of the AL is just beating up on Baltimore. Sorry, Lance. I know Lance Jenkins is a big Orioles fan, but your team stinks this year.
And he's watched them win 2 games in the last week or so.
By the way, the Braves had no business losing to the Orioles.
Absolutely.
Losing 2 out of 3.
Absolutely.
Now, let's take a look at, since we're halfway through the season, who we think should be winning the MVPs and Cy Youngs at this point. So let's start with the AL MVP. Who you got so far?
I really like Mike Trout. I don't think he's probably going to contend just because of the beat writers not being in.
Right.
Any baseball talk you hear, they'll say any West Coast team or any West Coast player has very little chance because the writers aren't out there. I really like Mookie Betts. Probably between one of those 2 if I had to pick somebody right now.
You know what I always say about Trout? He has in baseball like the LeBron James effect, where you could give it to him every year if you wanted to.
Exactly. He's got the stuff every year.
Exactly. But I feel like maybe the sport takes him for granted.
Exactly.
But a name that I've got is not Mookie, but JD Martinez from the Red Sox. They didn't have this guy last year, obviously. He's already got more home runs so far than any player for the Red Sox had the entire year last year. He's batting .331, which is 3rd in the American League. He's got 28 home runs, which at this point leads all of Major League Baseball, and he's got 77 RBIs, which also leads all of baseball. So I would take JD right now. You a big Trout fan? You think he should win MVP right now?
I think he should.
Yeah, Trout. You can always pick Trout. Sticking with the AL, Cy Young pick. Who you got right now?
Have to maybe go with Chris Sale,
right.
Justin Verlander, possibly.
Sure. I've got Verlander for the Astros. He's not leading in wins. He's only got 9, but again, he's up there in the top 10. He's third in the AL with a 2.15 ERA, and he's got 154 Ks already, which is it's only fourth. But he's got a .84 WHIP, which is walks plus hits per inning. So that's first in all of baseball. Now, NL MVP, who you picking? I think we might have the same pick here, perhaps.
I'll go out on a limb and go with Freddie.
See, I've got Freddie, and I'm not going out on a limb. What about you? You think Freddie should be MVP?
Yes, sir.
I think it's a long time coming, first of all. And I've said for many years that I think he'll eventually win a batting title. Yeah. This could possibly be the year. Right now, he's batting .315. That's 6th in the NL. He's got 16 home runs, which is not a whole lot, but he's in the top 10. And he's got 59 RBIs, which is 6th in the NL. Got a 948 OPS, so that's 4th overall. So still not bad.
One thing that struck me comparing the two leagues again, one thing that struck me while I was looking up stats, you had nobody in the top 6. If you look at the MLB overall,
right.
Nobody in the top 6 in home runs is in the National League.
Yeah.
Top 6 are in the AL. Top 3 in average are in the AL. Top 2 in hits are in the AL.
Yeah, and that kind of surprises me, but at the same time, with the DH in the American League, I think it's always seems like the American League is more of a, hit a home run or strike out kind of league, whereas the National League is more get them on, get them over, get them in.
Small ball.
Cycle baseball, station to station, as I call it. And then finally taking a look at this, NL Cy Young. Who do you think's got it so far?
I really like Jacob deGrom. I don't know what jersey he'll be wearing at the end of the season, but
hopefully it'll be a Braves uniform.
Maybe a Braves uniform. But I could definitely go for him. Matt Scherzer.
That was going to be my pick
because we see him so much.
Yeah, I'm going to take somebody from the competition. Max Scherzer from the Nats. He's 2nd in the NL with 11 wins, 3rd in the NL with 2.33 ERA. First in all of Major League Baseball with 177 strikeouts. He's also first in the National League in WHIP with a .89 walks and hits per inning. So
a couple of the writers that I looked up had Scherzer, DeGrom, and Nola as their top 3 picks, and all in the National League East.
Yeah,
who the Braves are playing the most. So
Nola, by the way, that one maybe surprised me a little bit because he's a relatively young guy. Now, we just got a couple of minutes, but let's talk about the All-Star game real quick. Mm-hmm. Anybody that surprised you, or maybe a snub that surprised you?
Like a lot of the writers, I was really surprised once I looked up Brandon Snell's numbers.
Yeah.
Was really shocked about
Me too.
Him not getting in. I had no clue who he was until I looked up his stuff. I was really pleased that after a handful of years of having the league minimum of candidates, that the Braves finally got 4 in this year.
Absolutely.
So,
tied with the Red Sox and I think the Cubs for most starters too, because we got Freddie and Markakis starting.
And we've got a couple more days for pitchers to say they're not playing, so we may get a 5th. A lot of people are talking about that.
Did Folty get in?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so Fulton Evans is in. Sean Newcomb perhaps
can still
get in.
Go in with a replacement.
Blake Snell, by the way, leads the entire AL with a 2.09 ERA. He's 12-4 on let's face it, a mediocre Tampa Bay team.
Exactly.
And 132 Ks in just 116 innings. So for him not to make the team, he'll probably get on, but for him not to initially make the team, I think that's a big snub.
And he's another one that playing for a different team, he probably gets a lot more recognition.
Absolutely. A big surprise for me was Matt Kemp becoming a starter because he's resurrected his career.
Exactly.
Did okay with the Braves, but obviously we got rid of him just to offset his contract. But he's got a .317 average, 15 home runs, 57 RBIs. So
definitely most improved player. I was looking up his stats last night. He has 41 runs scored. He had 47 all of last year.
Absolutely.
15 home runs already. He had 19 all of last year. 58 RBIs, had 64 all of last year.
So he's probably more likely, unless he gets hurt, he's going to blow past all of that.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
Now, let's take prediction time. Aiden, real quick, who you taking, AL or NL for the All-Star game on Tuesday?
NL.
All right.
I have to go with NL.
See, I would like to take the NL. That's my heart. My head says the AL, though, because I think they have more talent. But again, I'm usually wrong when it comes to predictions. So, and then real quick before we run out of time here, you've got a road trip to go see the Atlanta Braves that you're getting together. So give us some information about that.
I've put together the last couple of years a bus trip to go down to Atlanta. I know a lot of people have talked about when we've gone in the past. A lot of people have asked, man, I'd love to go down there. Just don't know the area, don't know, what to do, where to stay, that sort of thing. So I put together a trip the last couple of years. I'm going to be down there August 16th through the 18th, which is a Thursday through a Saturday. Going down on a charter bus. The trip includes hotel, tickets to 2 games against the Colorado Rockies, great seats, and the hotel, and can get in for as low as about $235 a person, depending on how you want a room. But I've got a few spots left. Be glad to get information to anybody.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're a Braves fan or a Rockies fan for that matter, definitely want to get involved with that. So once again, Joey Bennett, you got something else to say?
No, that's fine.
All right, I was going to say, Joey Bennett, we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.
Aiden Self, we appreciate you coming on as well. And once again, congratulations, buddy.
Good job.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, we're going to bring Russell back on the desk. We're going to take a look at Alabama's upcoming schedule. Is also talking about some NASCAR. All that and more when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And for the first time tonight, our regulars joining us on the desk. Jeremy McKenzie to my right, to his right, Russell Parker. So welcome back, guys. Now, as we've been doing over the past few weeks, we've been taking a look at all of the college football playoff teams from last year. Of course, we started with Oklahoma, moved on to Clemson Tigers, and last week looked at the Georgia Bulldogs. So, of course, we're going to finish with number one, and I see that grin on your face. Of course, that being the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull up their schedule for everybody to take a look at. And just like we've been doing, Russell, I'm going to save yours for last. Jeremy, taking a look at the schedule, anything jump out to you so far?
I see this is going to be Alabama's undefeated streak again, and probably will be repeating as national champions once again. I see where the only thing on this schedule probably going to give Alabama a run for their money for is Auburn.
All right. What about you, Russell? Let's see who you're gonna pick.
I have been thinking about this one ever since the end of the season last year, and really, I think probably the one's going to give them probably some little hiccups, and this is going to be kind of early in the season where they're still trying to figure things out. But I think Texas A&M might be a struggle game just a little bit. Alabama has known to have struggle games every once in a while in the season, and I think that might be where they struggle. Will they lose in that game? I don't think so. I think they actually will go on with that one. The only game I could see them really, really losing to might be LSU, and that's because it's in Death Valley.
All right.
But I'm going to go with 11-1.
11-1. Okay. I've noticed that in the past, over the last few years, teams that tend to give Alabama some trouble is a team that doesn't turn the ball over, for one, and has a somewhat mobile quarterback. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure who most of these teams' quarterbacks are. But again, you're playing in the SEC West, which...
the most difficult one to win in.
Yeah, more than likely is the most difficult, at least division in the country. Now, obviously, Auburn at the end of the season, that is a in-house, in-state rival game, one of those where you can a lot of times throw the records out the window.
It's the Iron Bowl.
That one more than likely will probably come down to a field goal, maybe a touchdown, something like that.
If it comes down to a field goal, Alabama could probably just say forget about it because we have bad luck with field goals.
And I mean, keep this in mind. Let's say that Alabama's undefeated to that point. If they lose to Auburn on the last game of the season, does that kick them out of the CFP perhaps?
Well, it didn't didn't last year. They were able to find a way back in it. And again, it all depends on how the other teams play out. But if it's a similar scenario to last year, I can see them still getting in. They beat everybody other than Auburn. I can't see them not beating Auburn. It's Auburn, so they should.
I can see them beating Auburn. I can
can't.
see them losing to Auburn too, though.
I can't. So
Auburn, I think, might give them trouble. At LSU, like you mentioned, in Death Valley could give them trouble. I'm gonna throw a wild card game out there against Mississippi State.
I was thinking about that one.
And Mississippi State, perennially, it's middle of the road team, but they face great competition playing in the SEC West. I don't know why, just an instinct, a gut feeling. Mississippi State, even though it's in Alabama, could potentially give the Tide some trouble.
And even Ole Miss, a couple of years ago, Ole Miss had beaten Alabama in Rebel Country. So I could really see Ole Miss being even somewhere early in the season that could hiccup on that one there and cost them a game.
And you remember that Ole Miss game, that was with a somewhat mobile quarterback. Remember Johnny Manziel gave them trouble?
Oh, yes.
Same
I hate
thing.
that game so much.
Basically what it boils down to is if you're playing Alabama, you cannot turn the ball over. It starts and ends with that right there, because if you turn it over on that Alabama defense, most times they're eventually going to score with that defense. And, like I said, you have... Maybe you can get away with one turnover. Anything past that, you can go ahead and chalk it up as an L. So, but you're going 11-1.
Yeah,
the loss being to Auburn, right?
I didn't say that. I didn't say Auburn. I'm going to say Texas A&M. I think that's going to be where they struggle at.
At home. Okay. You already said it. It's on the books.
I didn't think about that part, but
Too late.
I'll stick with it. I hope I'm wrong though.
And Jeremy, you're saying undefeated season.
Yeah, I think it's another undefeated season.
I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay on your side, Jeremy. I think there's a couple of potential roadblocks, but again, this is Alabama.
Are we turning you red now?
No. I'm just being smart and thinking straight. Because
I'm trying to make myself sound like I'm not being biased.
This Nick Saban. Nick Saban's a genius. He go anywhere he goes.
We see it every year. They lose a ton of guys to the NFL or graduation, and instead of retooling, they just restock, and there's always 3 or 4 or 5-star guys right there behind them ready to take their place. It's a never-ending process. As long as Nick Saban's there, Alabama's always going to be in the CFP talk.
But like I said, they always struggle with one game every season. It's like a curse for them. They always lose, seem like they're going to lose one. So I can see that happening this year.
Okay, so let's play your scenario out. Let's say they lose to A&M. That's the only loss. By that point, if they win the rest, they're going to be in the CFP, right?
Definitely.
Last week we took a look at Georgia. We all said that we think Georgia will end up in the CFP, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
So Georgia-Alabama meet again this year. Who wins?
Alabama.
Let's see. I thought you said Georgia last week, Russell.
I was debating on it.
Uh-huh.
We go week by week. This whole thing could change up any minute.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But I think we could all agree that Alabama's more than likely going to be back in the college football playoff. I think Georgia, again, will probably be back in the playoff. You guys want to take a stab at who the other two might be? Because I think, Russell, you said you did not have Oklahoma or Clemson getting in.
Yeah. I really couldn't tell you at the top of my head right now. Yeah, maybe Ohio State come up in there.
Maybe a Pac-12 team, perhaps.
I was thinking about maybe if Oregon can figure out how to get their team back in the order they could, or maybe even I think UCLA had a good season last year, didn't they?
They were
okay.
so-so.
USC, I think it was.
You always don't ever count Southern Cal out either.
Yeah.
Right. So do you maybe perhaps see the ACC be in the league left out in the cold?
Could very well be.
Because now, me personally, I've got Clemson getting back in.
Yeah, Clemson. Then you got to look at Virginia as well. Had a good.
Florida State, I think, could potentially be a sleeper as far as
they
the
can figure out how to
ACC.
get things back on track. Because last year was a terrible year.
It was, and due to Alabama, which, by the way, I see they're playing Louisville first this year.
Yeah.
Could immediately derail Louisville's year the same way they derailed Florida State's last year. Although Louisville, perhaps, they may have the same hopes that Florida State did last year, but I don't think the rest of the
you take Louisville by then lost to Lamar Jackson to the draft, but and see Louisville may not be that good unless we never know what Bobby Petrino gonna do.
I think this year's Tennessee game might have my most interest in it because they have an ex-Alabama coordinator head coach in it. So I would love to see how that game goes. I don't think.
And Tennessee has a decent quarterback this year. His name's Jared. I'm going to butcher this. It's something like Guantanamo, and I know it's not Guantanamo, but it's something similar to that. But he was a high recruit coming out of high school. Of course, Jeremy Pruitt being there, it'll be interesting to see. This will be his first year, right? Mm-hmm. So we see this all the time. A lot of these guys leave Bama, face their former
not just
coach.
players, but coaches.
Yeah, and never seem to be able to get over that hump, so to speak.
It's the process, rolling them in and out.
It is. So, I mean, again, I think we can all agree, like you said, at the very worst, Bama's going 11-1. We both have them going undefeated and making it. We all think they'll make it back to the CFP. So, but what do you think? Maybe over the next couple of weeks, because we're still a few weeks out, I think maybe we should take a look at like NC State, Duke, North Carolina, some North Carolina teams.
Certainly, we're going to have all of those lines up throughout the week.
Yeah, let's have Ohio State. Look at the Buckeyes.
Perhaps, yeah, because they were on the outside looking in. Penn State, another one. Let's not forget about Penn State.
How about
I know
Michigan?
Saquon left, but Trace McSorley, their quarterback's still there. And matter of fact, this past Monday, my Matter of Opinion column, a little shameless plug here, I talked about the fact that we were looking at this sort of thing, and I went through, kind of ranked the Tar Heels' upcoming schedule. Unfortunately, I've only got them going like 5-7 this year, so hopefully I'm wrong
you
about
being
that.
that generous?
What's that?
You being that generous?
Yeah, I was. But I mean, we got to bounce back. We went 3-9 last year. There's only one place to go, and that's up. So.
Yeah, there you go.
But let's leave the football field and head to the track. So let's keep up with NASCAR, Russell. And we were at Daytona this past weekend, and it was sloppy.
Yeah, wreckfest is the word I would describe for it. It was so many wrecks. One driver seems to be at fault for it. We'll get that in a minute.
Okay.
But Eric Jones survived the whole finale of it. I think we had less than 20 cars finish on the lead lap in the race, and he managed to push his way to the front. Him and Truex were kind of battling out together at the end. Had a almost a last lap wreck. They wreck right for the finish line for the white flag, and once they cross the finish line with a white flag, that's usually the end of the race. But because they did it beforehand, they had to regroup them again. But Truex just could not beat Eric Jones, and Jones' guy in front of him just took off with it. Held him off. He did really good, and of course that's his first career win in the Cup Series. So hats off to him. Great job.
Now, with Eric Jones winning, this being his first Cup Series, I know last week we took a look at the standings, and some of the guys that were on the outside looking in are right there on the cusp. With Jones winning, how does that affect those guys?
It actually doesn't affect anything at all, considering last week he was above the cutoff line. He was actually sitting, I think, 15th or 14th, so he was good to go. The win just pretty much secured him. They don't have nothing to worry about anymore. So you still got a 19-point difference between Alex Bowman and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Those guys, which Stenhouse coming into the race was at 17 points behind. So now he's kind of dropped back a little bit. He could have done it because he came close to winning the race, considering he had won the first two stages, but a lot of issues on track with some other drivers that cost him not to win it.
Now, talking about Daytona, first of all, I know it was bold for you to go out a few weeks ago and map out predictions for the next 10 races. Unfortunately, you're 0-2. You had your man Logano, I think, winning this. Of course, we know now Eric Jones won. It was wreck-filled, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Of course, it seems perhaps the culprit in all that was Ricky Stenhouse Jr., right?
Yeah, actually, one of the wrecks that he was involved in costed Logano any chance of winning the race. It was very early on in the race. Usually we see the big one happen towards the end within about 50 laps. But this here happened, I believe, in the first stage. So Stenhouse was pushing Brad Keselowski, but I believe it was William Byron that was in front of him. He came down, or he brake-checked Keselowski. Keselowski didn't be more aggressive than he should be, and that caused Stenhouse to wobble a little bit and then kind of took everybody out. A lot of people are putting the blame on him. I don't really think it's his fault. He just caught in a bad situation himself, but
Now, you said the big one. I know usually we see that at places like Talladega. Is that something that usually happens at Daytona, too?
Oh, certainly, yeah. Talladega and Daytona, they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
They both restrict your plates. They both have cars bunched together all the time. And you take one of them out, and a bunch of them can go out with it.
Now, obviously, I don't follow NASCAR nearly as much as you do, but I was watching the end of it without knowing what had happened, and I saw Eric Jones cross the finish line, and I was like, where's the rest of the cars? There's only like 15 cars in this race, but they come to find out the majority of everybody was knocked out.
The very first wreck that Stenhouse and Keselowski was involved in, 20 cars that took him out in that one.
That's like a third of the field.
That's half the field.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, anything else we need to know about for NASCAR this week?
Well, we're going down to Kentucky. We're going to go to Bluegrass State and race there. It's a 1.5 mile track. Kind of a flat in the corners. It's not as steep. Turn 3 and 4 is going to be the hardest for those drivers. They always talk about that one being the toughest one. They get right on the wall there going out of turn 3, or excuse me, turn 4, and they cause some wrecks up in there.
All right. Now I'm looking at the list here that you've got on your computer. And a name that a lot of people know, but hasn't really made a lot of noise this year is Jimmy Johnson. What's going on with him?
Yeah, he's actually kind of sitting on the bubble, if you will. He's 54 points ahead of the cutoff line, so he's likely to make the playoffs. But he's struggling so bad this year. He actually finally led some laps in this race. I think he had only 2 laps prior to Daytona, and he got up there and led some laps in this plate race, which was good. Unfortunately, he has that Daytona curse, it seems, recently, where he gets wrecked in Daytona. So
he was part of the wreckage?
One of them.
Okay.
One of the many we had. So, he's I'm not sure what's going on with him. I know he's going to be losing sponsorship with Lowe's next year. And
which I still find surprising.
Yeah, very. I believe he's got one in place now. I don't know who the sponsor is.
I'm sure he does. Because Jimmy Johnson's obviously a big name, which brings me to a question I have for you. Jimmy Johnson, obviously going to be a Hall of Famer. Multiple championships.
7-time tied up with Earnhardt and Petty.
Exactly. First of all, will we ever see him win another championship, you think?
I always say don't count out him, because even when he is having a down season, I know we're over 40 races without him winning a race, but I still wouldn't count him out. He can just turn on all the cylinders in the playoffs. He did it with the chase format. Yeah. And, I really don't count him out yet. And I don't think he's really hanging up his boots yet, or helmet rather. So
that brings me to my next question. On the flip side of that coin, could you make a case that maybe it's time for Johnson to hang it up? Nobody can do this forever in any sport.
Yeah, nobody can do this forever, but I think Jimmy's got about 5 more years on him. I really think
long, huh?
I think he can. Yeah, there's drivers that are 7 years old still racing these Cup cars, if you can believe it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they should be, though.
Yeah, but Jimmy's a good driver and excellent driver, and I really think he's probably just having a down season. Obviously, he's working with a lot of younger talent in this Hendrick Motorsports group. William Byron is really young, as well as Chase Elliott and Alex Bowman. So he's working with all of them, probably doing a lot more teaching and really practicing himself. So,
he's mentoring a lot of those guys.
Yeah, that's exactly what I believe he's doing.
And, maybe it's also a matter of, Jimmy Johnson's been up here for so long that now that he's probably dropped off a little bit, it just seems like it's worse than it really is. Is that maybe an effect we're seeing?
It could very well be, but I really think he can figure something out and potentially be a threat. But I don't think this year is going to be it. I also think a lot has to do with Chevrolet's new Camaro, their body. There's only been one Chevrolet driver this year that's won. That was at Daytona earlier in the year.
And I'm sure it takes some getting used to.
Yeah, and they're just struggling so hard this season. So who knows what's going to happen with Chevrolet from here on out.
All right. Well, looking at your predictions for the next 10 races that you put up, now you've got Kyle Busch winning in Kentucky. So real quick, you going to stick with that?
I still feel very confident on the race out of the picks I made, so I'm going to stick with that one. But I still think Brad Keselowski's going to be a threat for this race because he knows this track very well. He's won it a couple of times. Kyle Busch is kind of getting there with it, but I know he can pull it off. He's been very well, but you got to watch out, of course, for Truex, Larson, and Harvick. Larson's still hunting for his first win, so he could very well be.
Sounds good. Well, when we come back next week, we'll see where the grass is blue, who ends up winning, whether it's Kyle Busch, Keselowski, or somebody else. So that's going to do it for NASCAR, and of course for the looking at the NCAA football schedules. And as I mentioned, I think maybe we should come back next week and take a look at some of the other North Carolina teams. Maybe, like you said, in Ohio State, some of those other contenders on the outside.
We might have something from Charlotte next week, too.
Absolutely, that's right. Let's just tease that. Let's not put that out there. But we may or may not be hanging out in Concord this weekend.
Oh, I will be. I don't know about you.
It's called a teaser, Russell. You're supposed to tease. But again, that's going to do it for this segment. When we come back, we're going to finish up the show the same way we always do with our big impacts of the week. We're going to take a look at our basketball-related Ross poll for this week, and then finish it up with Love It or Hate It, all that and more when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
Hello, I'm Tammy Benson, and this is
Nancy Bowling.
And we're here to tell you about the wonderful service at hospice and what they have to bring. From the nursing services to the medical director, to in-home aides, to a chaplain, to bereavement, to everything you can imagine. They were there to take care of it.
I cannot think of how the experience with hospice could have been any better professionally, spiritually.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And time to wrap it up the same way we always do, guys. And let's start off with our big impacts of the week. Of course, big impacts brought to you by RCC, Richmond Community College, whose motto is local college, big impact. Russell, let's start with you. Who's your big impact of the week?
Well, I've got Travis Pastrana, who actually completed all 3 of the Evel Knievel jumps, his most famous jumps that he did in Las Vegas. All of them were completed by Travis Pastrana. He jumped over a bunch of buses, a bunch of cars, and even over the fountain over
Caesars.
Caesars, yeah. So that was huge because even Evel couldn't even do those jumps himself. I think he even broke a couple of bones.
I was going to say, I don't know if you saw the commercial on History Channel, but they showed Evel trying to do the jump, and they showed him hitting the concrete afterwards, and he broke like 50 bones or something. It looked rough. So, yeah, big impact. Could have been a big impact if he hadn't done it right, too.
Certainly.
But nonetheless, of course, congratulations to him for completing that.
Hey, one more thing. Let it be known that it wasn't that. I believe he did use his same bike as Evel Knievel did, same model. So, it wasn't technology that helped him out.
Oh, nothing souped up or anything.
I don't believe so. I think it was simply the same exact type of model and everything that he did.
So an even bigger impact. Yeah. All right, Jeremy, who you got for a big impact this week?
I want to congratulations to Miss Aaliyah Sweeney, who has committed to play softball and further education at Duke University. And I just want to say congratulations again to her and wish you the best in all your future endeavors.
Yeah, now she's a rising sophomore or freshman, something like that. She won't be playing there until 2022, but nonetheless, congratulations to her. In that same aspect, local athlete Reagan Lyles, who's a rising junior softball player from Marlboro Academy, has verbally committed to play at Wingate University, my alma mater, and is going to be starting to play for them in 2020. Can we do an extra one? I got one more big impact to throw out there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Charlotte Hornets first-round pick Miles Bridges scored 20 points and grabbed 7 rebounds in 30 minutes against the Boston Celtics on Monday in Summer League action. So hopefully that's going to be the future, so to speak, for the Hornets. We'll wait and see. But I think that's pretty big impact.
About Wingate. Is it Wingate or Wingate?
It depends on where you're from. If you're from the South, it's Wingate. If you're from the North, where like 2/3 of the kids are, then it's Wingate. My roommate was from New Jersey. He called it Wingate. I, of course, was like, Wingate. So it just depends on where you're from. Moving on, looking at the Ross poll. Of course, we do one of these each week, and you can get in on the conversation by hopping on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page and talking about the Charlotte Hornets. Huh?
Hashtag Ross poll.
Hashtag Ross poll. Of course, this week I put it up. Longtime San Antonio Spurs guard Tony Parker signed with the Charlotte Hornets for a 2-year deal. Is this a good move for Buzz City, or is it a last-ditch effort to make the NBA playoffs next season? Now, this one turned out 58% said it won't make a difference. 42% said it's a good move by Charlotte. So, you agree?
I truly believe this is going to be a situation where Tony Parker comes in to be a mentor to Kemba Walker and to Monk they drafted on last year.
Who got injured, by the way. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, he did. And as far as with the Raw, if I had forgot to vote in this, but I think it's a good move for the Hornets to try to bring some kind of name into the Buzz City, which they lost out on a lot of guys they could have gotten. But this is going to be an opportunity for Tony Parker, to, like I say, to come in and be a mentor and also probably play some 6 men off the bench.
What do you think, Russ? I mean, is this going to be enough to get them in the playoffs or no?
I think they got to make some more moves still. I don't think it'll be enough.
I don't think so either. I actually voted in and I said it won't make a difference. Of course, I'm still sticking by the fact they need to just shut this whole thing down. And I think signing Tony Parker, even for 2 years, coming off an injury, by the way, is the other way to go with it. But again, they seem to know more about it than I do. And again, we do a Ross poll each Monday night. Hashtag Ross poll, And again, you can get in on the conversation by hopping on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page. So make sure to do that. And then finally, let's end it like we always do. Hop into Love It or Hate It. And we got quite a few, but we've got about 11 minutes here to finish up. So I think we'll be able to get all of them. Let's start with some NFL. So, of course, David Tepper is now the new owner of the Carolina Panthers. By the way, we were talking about whether it was a conflict of interest for him to hold stake in the Steelers. He actually dropped that, so he's now the main owner for the Panthers. So now that the sale is official, he had his press conference earlier this week, said he has no plans to make changes to the team. I see you there. So making no changes. Love it or hate it.
I love it, man. This is what we do. Keep calm, keep pounding. We request for that first ring. Let's go get it.
All right. One of these days, y'all get one, man.
Come on, man.
I'm going to say hate it because I think he should at least change the quarterback.
Come on, man.
I'm going to say love it just because, coming right in, he doesn't need to make any changes until maybe he can get some of his people in place, and we'll see what happens with that. Moving on with the NFL, the NFL's 2018 roster of officials. So the referees are going to include 7 rookies this year. Love it or hate it. 7 first-time referees.
I actually hate it because keep the ones you got.
All right.
I think it's going to depend on what games they're going to call. Like,
Well, I mean, there'll be regular season games.
Yeah, I will love it. Then I think that'd be okay. And they're early games, you know.
I'm going to say love it too. It's actually 7 out of like 150 or something, so it's not that many as it seems.
They should they should do the preseason games.
And I'm sure they will. And you have,
out.
but then these guys are coming from college, so it's not like they have zero experience. But I mean, it's just like any other sport. You have to bring guys up.
Yeah, put them in preseason, a little bit of the playoffs. Just don't let them.
But again, I think over the past few years, there's been a lot of discrepancy between what's a catch and all this sort of thing, and maybe putting some of these rookie ones in there could potentially cause a problem. Also, talking about the Panthers. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but ESPN's put out a list that says the top 100 most important players that's going to make the difference this year in the NFL. All right, stop. So the NFL has listed Cam Newton as the most important Panther in the NFL. So what do you think? You're probably going to say love it, right?
You're right.
All right, what do you think, Russell?
I love it.
Hate it.
I'm going to say love it just because I think it's true. Now, again, you know how I feel. I'm not a big Panther fan, really, but I'm not a big Cam Newton fan either. But I think the Panthers go where Cam goes.
Yes.
Which is why he needs to stay on his P's and Q's and not get hurt, basically.
Yeah.
I think he's the most important one to be traded.
Well, you're just dogging on it.
Yeah.
By the way, let me ask you this, Jeremy, specifically. Cam Newton's known to take off and run. Eventually, he's going to need to stop doing that, right?
Yes, because he's getting a lot older, and then at the same time, we just brought, we got Christian McCaffrey, just signed C.J. Anderson, and brought back Kenyon Barner. I think it's a scenario where they bringing these guys in where you need to get the running game implemented and get it going so you can take pressure off your quarterback. That's why they brought in North Turner to elevate his game.
True, but it's tough to teach an old dog new tricks. So you're going to have to basically make him stop running because he's done it for so long. His first instinct is to take off sometimes.
Yes.
So if he wants to stick around and have a long career, Cam, man, stop running, stay in the pocket. Sticking with Charlotte sports, the Hornets, of course, made a 3-team trade and are getting back Bismack Biyombo. So love it or hate it.
I love it because this is a scenario where Biyombo could come back because I loved his aggressiveness. He played defense, and he was making point, getting boards. I like this trade.
All right, Russell, I'll give you $100,000 if you can tell me who Bismack Biyombo is.
He's a basketball player.
That doesn't count. That's not specific. He's a big man, though, but love it or hate it.
I'll say love it.
Yeah, I think, this is kind of one of those fill out the roster kind of scenarios. I think he'll be able to pull down some rebounds and kind of take Dwight Howard's place for the most part. Looking at tennis, a sport we don't really talk about much, Serena Williams misses her daughter's first steps while practicing at Wimbledon. Of course, she just had a kid not too long ago, but missing it because she's doing her job. Love it or hate it. Without Serena getting mad at you.
There's not really a love. I'm happy that she missed it.
Yeah.
I don't really hate her for it. There's no need to really hate her for it. But, I mean, she's got a job to do. That's her job, is playing tennis.
Right.
She's good at it. It's Wimbledon, of course. She won't want to miss that. But, it's steps. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I wouldn't know how bad it is to miss that.
Right.
But, I don't think it's that big of a deal, personally.
What do you think, Jeremy?
I'm going to say, it's kind of both ways. But
yeah, you don't have to throw out
it's kind of both ways because you're doing what you love to do, but at the same time, you got a responsibility of a parent to be there for your child, which you couldn't be there for, so it's not a big deal. So
yeah, and I mean, she posted on social media how upset she was about it, as I'm sure she is. And of course, like you said, none of us have kids, so we don't exactly know how it feels. But again, it's not like she was, out doing something else. She was doing her job, playing at Wimbledon, which is, of course, one of their big majors. So, talking about majors, Tiger and Phil Mickelson are in the process of working on a $10 million golf match that's just going to feature those two. Love it or hate it.
Oh, I love it because this is a battle of the best golfers in the league.
Right.
I love to see that.
Yeah.
I love it. I would love to go watch that. So.
Yeah. I love it too. And of course, $10 million to those two is nothing.
Yeah.
But Phil was like, how much money should we put out there to where it's going to get people's attention? At the same time, if you lose, it's still going to hurt your pocketbook a little bit. And I think $10 million is definitely that number.
Yeah, it is.
But I agree. Obviously, even with they're two older guys, and with all the younger guys, Tiger and Phil still the two most well-known guys.
Do you know where they're planning on having it at?
They don't know yet. I would imagine it's going to be somewhere here in the States, probably somewhere in California, maybe at Torrey Pines or
let's see in
Pebble
Pinehurst.
Beach.
Yeah,
I'm
going to push forward. Y'all should come to Pinehurst.
Come to Pinehurst. If you come to Pinehurst, I will be there.
Yeah, I'll be there too. And they've both played Pinehurst multiple times, so maybe that's on the table. Who knows? Now, Looking at UFC/wrestling. So Brock Lesnar at UFC 226 over the weekend entered the ring after the main event and challenged Daniel Cormier to a fight, who had just won and retained his belt. So Brock coming in and challenging Cormier to a fight. Love it or hate it?
I'm kind of going to let him say hate it. Because the reason being, why you want to go ahead and challenge a UFC fighter for his championship, but you don't even compete in the WWE half the darn year?
That's a good point.
From my understanding, he actually entered that ring technically as a civilian.
As a fan, yeah.
So I'm going to say hate it. That's pretty much a dangerous thing there. You don't know what he's going to do. I know he's got a character on TV, but we still know what he's going to do here on live TV. And to me, he could have come out and done a different way like that. But personally, I was hoping that Braun Strowman might come there and cash it on right there.
I'm going to say hate it too, because coming in as a fan, you don't know what he's going to do. And, you know, we saw the scenario with Conor McGregor, what happened behind the stage there. These guys can pop off at any minute. You don't really know. And when you let a guy like Brock come in there, they could have started fighting for all we know. And that's dangerous. That's
also,
a liability.
Maybe, if anything, UFC actually staged that to happen.
Perhaps.
Trying to do a little bit of WWE there.
Which I'm on the conspiracy theory train. That whole Conor McGregor thing was planned.
You think they're kind of taking that route now?
I think so, maybe a little bit, trying to get some interest up because UFC's dropped off a little bit. Moving on, an AFC and the NFL executive has said that Rob Gronkowski, of course the tight end for the New England Patriots, is available in a trade until he signs a new contract with the Patriots, and he's got about 2 weeks to do that. So the fact that Gronk potentially is available, love it or hate it?
I'm gonna say love it. Come to the we'll make a trade with you. Come to the Panthers. You and Greg Olsen. That give
y'all give them Olsen?
No, we'll give him a draft pick. We'll give him a draft pick.
All right, love it.
I'm gonna say love it because if he does leave the Patriots, that will be opportunity for another team to have a good player, a really great player,
and a go-to person,
and make some moves and possibly get close to a Super Bowl win.
I'm going to say love it for anybody that he gets traded to, hate it for the Patriots.
Certainly.
And I don't see this happening, first of all.
Yeah.
And I know the Patriots are a little wary about giving him a new contract because he is injury prone. But again, if they trade Gronk, who's left on offense for them? And I know it seems like they just churn guys out. But
and
still,
how much longer is Brady going to be there?
Exactly. And Gronk, let's face it, is Brady's security blanket. So I don't see him. I think Tom Brady will pay out of pocket himself to keep Gronk in a Patriots uniform. Now, going to the NBA, of course, we've seen that. We talked a lot about the NBA over the last, feels like 6 months. Of course, we're still in the middle of free agency time.
I think this might be the first time we not had NBA.
We didn't start with it or have it in the segment. The Houston Rockets are right now the leading team to land Carmelo Anthony. Of course, the Thunder are ready to cut ties, but going to Houston, love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it because I've been in discussion with a lot of my friends of mine, and I think this is going to be a scenario where you can form a big three with CP3 and James Harden, and try to compete with LeBron in LA, and then the Golden State, the dream team in Golden State, try to compete for a championship. Go for it.
All right, Melo in Houston, love it or hate it?
I'm gonna say love it. Yeah.
I would love it too for that reason. You automatically set up a big three. It didn't seem to work out in OKC though, so I'm not sure if he'd have the same role in Houston. I'm not so sure he wants that role.
Yeah, because they already lost out on Trevor Ariza, who went to the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
So this is where Carmelo in a scenario where he could come in, resurrect his career, and start and get his face back and pretty much compete for a championship. Because this is pretty much his last chance.
Also, let me throw this out there. Rockets head coach Mike D'Antoni coached Carmelo in New York, and they didn't get along very well.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how that works out. Let me throw something out there. Carmelo, go to Philly, man. That's all I'm going to say.
There you go. You can start again.
Exactly. Stay in the East. Get to a finals, man. Because he still doesn't have a championship.
He'll go to the final. You can go to an All-Star game just for your name.
Exactly, which he does every year. And then finally, to wrap up, love it or hate it, let's end with NBA. Grayson Allen, everyone's favorite antagonist. Of course, former Duke, who got in a lot of scuffles. Seems like he's up to his old tricks because he and Trae Young, of course, Grayson's with the Utah Jazz. He and Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks were involved in an on-court shuffle last week. Does this surprise you, first of all, love it or hate it?
Well, think about it. Don't surprise me because then at the same time, I hate it because Grayson, I thought you would learned your lesson now since you're in the NBA, but it never fails.
Doesn't seem so. What do you think, love it or hate it?
Yeah, I'm going to say hate it too because, man, he's got to grow up.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this many times. I think we talked about it in the fall, in the spring during March Madness about how, man, sometimes you got to grow up and get over these sort of things because this is going to come back to bite you in the NBA. Guys are going to remember this. They're going to come after you. You're going to have a target on you, and you don't want that.
And you're going to be able to get fines too for
exactly.
On the flip side, he makes so much controversy that he's getting publicity. You know, any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah,
in this type of scenario.
but he already carries that with him. I think. At some point,
let me tell you an example. Now, Kyle Busch is a very aggressive guy on and off the racetrack. You know, he can get in fist fights. People are hating him for it. But right now, he's kind of helping out in NASCAR.
That's
so
true.
This could be helping out NBA in a way.
That's true. And again, you know, every sport needs a bad guy. Perhaps that's Grayson Allen. So
there you go.
And he fits the bill 100%. So. But that's going to do it for this edition of the RO Sports Show. Of course, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And there's so many ways to watch. We were explaining earlier to some people how many different ways there are. So I'll just run off a few of them. You can watch us on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page, the Richmond Observer's Facebook page, the Richmond Observer's YouTube channel. By the way, if you have a smart TV, you can find us on there as well. Go on to YouTube, subscribe, and like us.
It looks awesome on the big screen.
Absolutely. I've watched this. It's really cool to see yourself on TV. Of course, you can go to the RO app, the RO website. If you want to listen to us, you can do that on the Classic Rock app and on theclassicrockradio.com. I'm sure I'm leaving off some more. Nonetheless, guys, it's all free. So that's going to do it for myself, Matt Harrelson, Jeremy McKenzie, Russell Parker. Once again, we appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. We'll see you right back here next Thursday, 5:30. Everybody have a wonderful week.